Welcome to Deep Dives with Will and Rubes.
It's a show that is making accounting cool again.
I'm Will.
And I'm Rubes.
And today we have another episode of Fuckups and Failures.
With Will McTavish. So in this episode we travel back 10 years in time, well less so now, but this is episode number 3 in Fuckups and Failures, where we go back in time and look at some of the fuck-ups and failures of Will's early business experiences. We've had some pretty raw and gripping episodes so far. So where we last left off, you were basically in a ball on the floor crying into the carpet. Your mum came and scraped you off the floor because you were like deep in debt, you were living in a rental, and you moved back in with your folks.
That's right. Yeah, I was just in this anxiety loop of the only place I felt slightly at ease was looking at my emails with an empty inbox.
Right.
So I suppose that's where my obsessive compulsive compulsion comes from, with having to clear my emails every day.
Yeah.
So I always clear emails every day, and I think it's probably come from that, where I feel at ease with no emails in my inbox. So I was just basically living in this loop of making sure I clear my emails every day, and it was probably like 2 or 3 weeks of that. That's when I got really, really bad, and my mum called me one day and she noticed I wasn't in a good place, and it was because I was just on the floor crying.
Yeah.
And she probably heard that in my voice, came around, saw me, and then she's like, right, she took me back home and said, we need to sort this out, what's going on. And that's where I told them everything that was actually happening and how bad it was.
Because you had debt from multiple debt lenders, and it was, I don't know, like quite high, obviously. You'd got rid of your business partner, which was great. You had a lot of angry customers because you weren't physically, mentally capable of delivering any services to them. You were just in an emotional wreck, right?
Correct, yeah. So there were projects that were going well, there were ones that was doing well, but there's like any new business, there's going to be a couple that you don't go so well because you're doing things that stretch your capabilities. This particular example, I was requested to do historic balance sheets in a zero conversion. Okay. So it was so this is before we had comparative balances in zero.
Yeah,
so
back in the old days.
So I was having a journal monthly balance movements, and then that was just well out of my
comfort zone.
My skills. Yeah. I didn't know how to do balance sheets
as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, trying to journal to bank account. It was really tough. So basically, I butchered that job, and that was the job that was really ruining my life because I felt terrible for my customer. They were so angry with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what got me into that. It was all the debt and everything happening, and then that one job that went really, really bad. That's the thing that really broke me.
And once you moved home, your dad took you to a counsellor, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. So he said, so this is my parents didn't actually know that I went and saw a doctor, but my old boss sort of came back into my life quite a bit at that stage to help me out. He was fantastic throughout this time. He took me to the doctor, and he got me on some antidepressants, which to be honest actually did quite help. It got me out of that loop.
Yeah. So
I don't want to. I'm no expert on depression or any of that sort of thing. I just had a really bad patch, as you can, if you've listened to the last few episodes, you'd know it was pretty bad. But yeah, certainly I feel like that medication certainly did help to just at least get my head above water so I could see what was going on. But a big part of that as well, it's not, for me, it wasn't just the meds, it was the seeing the counsellor and starting to talk through the issues and starting to come to terms with the situation I created for myself. And what he said to me, I only ever had one session with him, and he was fantastic. And he said to me, what hobbies do you have? And I looked at him blankly, like, hobbies? I don't do hobbies. I'm looking at my situation, and he goes, "Oh, how often do you see your friends?" And I was like, "Well, I don't anymore, really. I don't.
Too busy trying to fight fire after fire after fire and worrying about everything else." And
I mean, they were just young, man. They're all 23, 22, 23 years old, drinking, going out of town, having fun, and I'm like, man, I can't afford a beer.
No.
So I can't hang out with anyone because I can't afford to do anything. So I was just living in this doom loop, basically. And he said, well, what are your friends into? And I sort of had a bit of a chat to him about that. And so what we sort of got in the conversation was that a lot of my mates had started playing guitar. They'd get together, 5, 6, 7 of them, play guitar. And he goes, well, why don't you look at playing some guitar? And I was like, oh, okay, well, because I had a couple $100 in the business bank account or something. And then after that session with him, I went and bought a guitar, which I've still got.
Yes.
That one over there. Yeah. So bought the guitar, and what also came out of that conversation was I've got one friend of mine who every time I spend time with him, I have a fantastic time. I always have fun with this guy, and it's Tom Mackley. He's one of the groomsmen at my wedding, and he said, well, what you need to do is spend time with spend a bit more time with your mates, maybe go and learn to play guitar, and it looks like this guy Tom that you talk about, you need to probably spend some time with him. So I reached out to Tom. Tom's the sort of guy that wouldn't even know what depression is. He's just the happiest dude in the world. But I sort of explained to him what I was going through, and then he just made this massive effort and thought, well, look, why don't we move in together? So him and his partner Hannah, so Hannah and Tom and I found a place. So my old boss actually had a rental that wasn't being rented. And he offered me to rent one of these rooms for free. So he said I could move in there. So he took me to the doctor, got me on some meds, and then also got me into this nice environment. I mean, it was really nice going back to mum and dad's for a while, but we know that we're, with my parents and I, we can't really live under the same roof for a long period of time. And it's just, when you're adults, it becomes difficult. Yeah. So it was really good to go back home for a few weeks. Mum cooking dinners, doing the laundry, all that sort of thing. But then I moved in with Tom and Hannah, and what I basically did is I started going for runs with Tom. So it was every day after work, Tom would come home and then he'd pull me off the couch wherever I was and we'd run up Mount Kaukau. Cool. So we're doing 10k runs every single day after work, and then spending time with Tom, getting the blood pumping, going for runs, playing a bit of guitar in the evenings. We had a great time together, and that was when I started to feel like there's something to look forward to every day. And I think if you're in that sort of position where when everything's all consuming and you can't see a way out of it, go and do some physical exercise and try and find some sort of enjoyment, laugh, smile, get the blood pumping, and then what you can do is when you need to then address the problems in your life, you can hit it with a different attitude. You can hit it with there is something to look forward to. And I think spending that time with Tom and getting out and running and playing guitar with my other mates, that was massive, and actually starting to make some progress out of the situation I was in.
Finding that enjoyment in life again.
Absolutely, man. And so that was one part of it. One side was actually getting my mental health in the right place, which was through the running and the guitar and spending time with people that I care about. The other part was actually dealing with the situation, and this was huge. So what my dad did was we've got some family friends, and so it was Nigel, and so Nigel Wynn was a very successful businessman years ago, and he's actually passed on now. But so my dad and Nigel and I sat down and we went through the entire situation, and he was amazing. He just basically looked at it and goes, right, we got all this debt here. You know what you're doing now. This is just the problem you've got. So what we need to do is, he said to my mum and dad, if we can look at doing one loan that consolidates all the debt, if we borrow it, if we secure that loan against the house, you'll get the interest rate down to a mortgage rate. So we managed to get all of my debt into one loan. We're talking like the vehicle, we're talking the laptops that got stolen, like everything all the fines, all the stuff sitting in the courts, all of that all onto one loan, and then we managed to get it down. I can't remember the interest rate back then, but it was like 6 or 7%. It was manageable. Yeah. Which is really cool. So we and part of that is the old company. So the company I set up originally was actually called Pond. Right. So Pond Limited, and that was the brand, and that was the consulting company. And Dad and I spent a few nights brainstorming, and we came up with the name. We thought Link was pretty cool because we link software together. Because no one knew what Pond was. Even I didn't. I don't even know how I came up with the bloody name. I thought Pond sounded cool. So anyway, but so then we came up with the name Link Solutions. So Dad and I set up Link Solutions, and so when I say Dad and I came up with the name, set up Link Solutions, and then I contacted. So I had a silent partner in the old company. We're not going to go down the path of what that was, but I contacted everyone else involved. We talked about Chris in a previous episode. Yes. Basically, we closed that company down. Yep. And I started trading out of Link Solutions. We did a full rebrand. I set up a new website, and then so what we've done is we consolidated all the debt, and I had a new company, and then I basically just went to market. So then I started to really get a little bit of momentum because I had a new company, I had a fresh outlook. I was doing some exercise. I was living with some mates that were awesome to be with, and And yeah, that's how I sort of climbed out of that hole that I was in. It didn't happen overnight. It was probably 6-12 months before I started to feel really steady.
How are your projects going at that point?
I mean, it might have been up to sort of 5 or 6 a month at some stages, so it was good. I wasn't charging enough for the services.
Right.
I might have been doing projects at like sort of $1,200, where these days I would charge $5,000 for a project like that.
Right.
Well, not that we do projects anymore, but if I was going to do consulting projects, it'd be a $5,000 job. I was charging $1,200 for.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So what were you doing for like a zero setup back then?
Like $500 for a zero setup, and that would include like on-site meetings, all sorts.
Wow. Yeah. So like you're talking like 10-12 hours work.
10-12 hours work at $500,
including training, eh?
Including training. That's including like travel, meetings, the works.
So you put your prices up from that? Or?
They've gone. They started. Yeah, I put my prices up as well, right. which really sort of made a big difference as well. I think a common problem that people starting out in business have is because they don't have money, they assume that everyone else doesn't have money. And because I didn't have money, I thought, like, how can I charge a business more than $1,000 when $1,000 is an inconceivable amount of money to me? But this person could be sitting on $400,000 in their check account.
Yeah, and an accounting system is an essential for them, and $1,000 is not that much money for an accounting system.
Exactly. So I think that's the thing. That was that realization that just because I don't have money doesn't mean everyone else doesn't have money. So then I put my prices up, and then we started actually going, the bank account's seeing some dollars coming through, which was pretty nice. It was around about that stage that we started getting a bit of momentum, and I brought my first employee on in more of a real manner rather than just, hey, here's some cash, let's just change the world together. And it was Raf, and he was awesome. He was a student. I brought him on part-time to help out with the spreadsheet work and a bit more of the grunt work that I was doing.
Just casual? Or?
Just casual employee with holiday pay loading. So there was, it was great. And
low risk, and I assume he was billable as well, right? So
correct.
You were charging him out.
He'd only come into work when I had billable work for him to do.
Perfect.
So the risk was fairly low.
A lot less strategy and planning going on. Exactly. What about your old landlord? Because you're still in a 5-month lease, aren't you?
Oh, great question.
That's
an awesome question. I completely forgot about that. So what happened is part of that meeting I had with Nigel, and he said that when you consolidate all of the debt, part of that debt consolidation was we sat down with my landlord and we said, hey, we haven't paid rent for 16 weeks or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Can we just draw a line in the sand and we'll get you that $16,000? And in the end, he was really good about it. To be fair, I think he realised the fact that I was just a young kid. He probably shouldn't have signed me up to the lease in the first place, but. Look, it's what happened, and so he agreed if we pay him $16,000 like within the week, he'll just close the lease and he'll find a new tenant. Yep. So we did that, and part of that loan that we took out also covered that rent payments.
Awesome. So now you kind of got a clean slate almost. Yeah?
Correct.
Although a lot of debt, but like no hanging, looming, impending doom scenarios.
Yeah, it just wasn't in all a million places, and the repayments probably got it was like a third, because it was all just one place, and it was over 5 years, and it was at a low interest rate rather than like the crazy 15% they charge. So that was having that consolidated, and all I knew is as long as I made enough money to make the loan repayment and to pay Raf, I can continue. So that was sort of so anything surplus to that was great.
And you only had to pay Raf when you had work on, because he was a casual. So that's really
So we worked really well together. So Raf was doing the spreadsheeting and all the setup work, and I was out there selling and doing the trainings. And within about 3 months, we had Raf actually coming to these meetings with me and running these meetings. So it was awesome. He to this day one of the best people I've ever had work for me. He was amazing.
Where did you find him?
Student job search.
Is that right?
Yeah, student job search. So Dad helped me with the interviews. So because I don't know any of the stuff, and Dad's run departments at the hospital and things, so he knew how to hire people. So had a whole set of interview questions. We interviewed about 5 or 6 people, and then he was like, that guy Raf, he's amazing. Yeah. Brought him on board, and sure enough, he was right. Amazing. Yeah, that's right.
So you had a bit of work coming in by then. In fact, you had enough to bring on a casual employee. What about your anxiety around opening bills and stuff? Like, you still couldn't face a letter?
No, not at all. So the whole accounting side of the business, because I was out there finding work and doing doing that, I didn't even look at the accounts. That was just, I had zero, but that was just, I can't even remember where the GSTs were at. So what we did is part of when we I went back to my old high school and I spoke to the accounting teacher and I said, hey, look, I'm looking for a student who finished last year, so I'm looking for a first year university student that you could recommend that could do some of the finance role for me. And he put 3 names forward, and one of them I recognised, which was Caitlin.
Right.
Caitlin Truman, and I recognised her because in previous few years earlier I coached softball. So I played for Johnsonville Softball Club in the senior grades, and I was coaching the young guys, the under 13s or something. And one of the players, one of the actual top players, Josh, he was the catcher for the team. His sister would always come to the game and watch. So so Josh's dad would help out as well. So he'd help me out with a bit of coaching, and Caitlin would come to all the games. And then so I recognised her from there. So yeah, sure enough, interview, and then we hired her, and she came on board to do all the finances.
Was that also on a casual basis? Hourly?
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How many hours did you?
She was probably doing 5 hours a week, and that was that's where things started really falling into place, because we started getting some organisation around the subscriptions. I mean, we had a lot of subscriptions that we weren't on charging to the clients.
Right. So you're losing money on those.
We were losing money. I think it was quite a bit of money we were actually losing. So Caitlin went through and organised all of the subscriptions. She got all the accounts in order. She got everything all reconciled. And so she was only
open your letters.
Open the letters. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So she got everything organised over the next few months, and then she managed all the finance. So it was really cool because I could go out and sell, and then I had a Raf delivering the work, and I had Caitlin managing the whole back office stuff. So we're an awesome team, the 3 of us. And so we went like that for a little while.
You had a couple of big opportunities drop around that time. Things started going well for you finally.
That's right. Yeah. So once we had so Caitlin and Raf in place, and this little three-piece unit that we had, then we started doing some really good work. Word got out, and then I figured out that if I go and meet with accounting practices and explain what I'm doing, the accounting practices will then send us leads. So then that was pretty simple. Meet with all the accounting practices I could get a hold of. If I have downtime, I meet with accounting practices. Otherwise, I'm out there selling work. So one particular accounting practice who has actually since merged with Deloitte was Curtis McLean, a big practice in Wellington. And the directors there really liked me. I think they saw that I was a young fella trying to do some cool things, and they and Paul Pettit gave me the opportunity to speak at one of their events. So they had an event with 180 of their clients turned up, and he had 2 guest speakers. One of them was Rod Drury, and I was the other one.
Wow.
So which is pretty cool. So there's this, I've still got it. There's this little brochure or a little card that got sent out to all their clients, and I can't remember the heading on it, but it was something along the lines of bring your business into the cloud or whatever it is, and it had guest speakers Will McTavish and Rod Drury. Definitely. And I thought that was pretty cool, man. I was only like 23 or 20, maybe 24 then.
Totally.
And to be on stage next to Rod was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, people forget now, but back then the whole concept of the cloud was very foreign to people. You had to really sell the cloud to people back then. You had to explain what it was, what it meant, accessibility, mobility, those sort of things, and then why it was a good idea to have your accounting system there, and then you had to sell them on the accounting system, and then you had to sell them on your services.
You got it, bro.
I mean, it was a hard sales pitch back then.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And because what I'd do is I'd start talking about Xero and the apps that we use. I said, how you've got all of your photos, right, and they're on your computer, but if you put them on Facebook, you can access them anywhere. And people are like, oh yeah, I get that. It's like that with your accounting data. You put it online, you can access it anywhere.
Wow.
And if your computer breaks, you've still got your Facebook, right? Yeah. And people are like, oh, I get it. So that was my sales pitch. So they have to compare Xero to Facebook with your photos. So yeah, this is how I was selling back in the day.
So you're presenting, on the same ticket as Rod Drury at this accounting or this client event for one of the biggest accounting practices in Wellington.
Yes.
And you got 180 business owners there, really interested in this. I mean, you get a lot of leads out of that.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of leads started coming through. A lot of requests for website work as well, which we didn't do. And then I knew that Shopify was emerging on the scene as well.
Right. Was it a e-commerce type?
E-commerce. Yeah. Correct. So then I ended up trying to find someone to do website work, and I met Sarah through an old school friend. I posted on Facebook, hey, does anyone know anyone that does that? Yep. So Sarah came on board. So I had Sarah join the team. So we had Raf and then Caitlin, myself. So it was 4 of us. And then the next thing, another opportunity hit me.
Yeah. So Sarah was a web developer, I assume.
Correct. Yeah, Sarah's a web developer. Yeah. So she studied web design.
Yeah. People forget that like back then e-commerce was also kind of emerging and quite hard. Like it was something only bigger businesses could afford, but with like the likes of Shopify, coming out back then, they became a lot more accessible to everyday businesses, importers, wholesalers, to have an e-commerce website now.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah, these days, if you want to start an e-commerce website, you go on a Shopify, you go into Rocket Spark or something along those lines, or Wix or whatever they are, and bang, you got a site off a template. But yeah, back then that was not that easy. So we hired someone to actually manage that, and then we did some interesting jobs. Like we did a Tradevine integrated with a Shopify and all these crazy apps we plugged together. It was pretty. We did some interesting projects. So Sarah came on board and we started doing some really, because now that we had that skill set in-house, we did a full rebrand. So she designed the Link Solutions logo and did some really cool stuff. And we just had heaps of fun. It was good. We had a good team. Everything was going well. And then next opportunity comes along, right? So New Zealand Plumbing Merchants. So they are the collective that own the plumbing worlds and things. They contact me because by this stage I'm reasonably well known in the industry for being the go-to guy for cloud apps. So our name got put forward to manage the contract to roll out their cloud solution to all their plumbers, which is fantastic.
How many are we talking?
I think I've got to be careful what I say here, but I think there's thousands of plumbers.
Yeah,
I believe
it's part of that collective.
It's part of the collective, but they used the number. They said there's about 200 ready to go. There's 200 plumbers that want to use this solution. That managed to integrate GeoOp Unleashed integrated with the database from Plumbing World. So it was this real new high-tech solution, and they needed someone to deliver that.
And Xero, obviously.
Sorry, and Xero as well. Yeah.
So the GeoOp would manage the jobs for the plumber.
Correct.
Unleashed integrated with the plumbing merchant inventory would have all the products and stock on hand for that plumber, or allow them to purchase it easier. Is that the way it worked?
Exactly, you got it. Yep.
And then that would then flow through the accounting system.
Exactly, 100%, man. You got it. So that was the solution, and that was
complex.
That was cutting edge back in 2012, early 2013.
Well, it's still pretty cutting edge, man. There's not that many. I go on about this a lot. There's not that many good job management apps out there for people in the services like that. Where you got trade services where you need to manage inventory and time and jobs to an accounting system.
Totally, man. It's tough, man. And they put this solution together, and so what part of that contract, when we're going through the process of getting the contract all signed off, and they said that you need to make sure you have capacity to manage this workload.
200 plumbers.
Yeah, that's right. So I was like, right, well, I've just got all these leads that I came in, and I remember it was May 2013.
Yep.
Might have been 12, sorry.
No, I think it was 2013.
That is 20. So you're right, it is 2013. May 2013. I remember all of that happened. So we had there's a new financial year with all these opportunities coming from that presentation I did.
Yep.
And then I had this New Zealand Plumbing Merchant thing happening. I'm like, whoa, this is all happening. This is what I spent all these years, all that debt that I went through. It's all worth it.
Which you still had.
Just still had, but I mean, this opportunity was, we're going to clear this debt. We're looking good. So what we did is we. I then went and hired Nimish came on board.
Right.
So Nimish was going to manage the New Zealand Plumbing Merchant contract. Sarah was going to do all of our web design and Venn point of sale type stuff. Then we had Raf doing all of the Workflow Max sort of projects, and I was out there selling, and then we had Caitlin managing the finances, and we had this awesome team. We're all young. I was actually the oldest. I was only 24, but I was the oldest.
Right.
So what we did is we had all of this opportunity, and then suddenly I'm going up to Auckland, so I've got meetings up in Auckland with NZPM.
Right.
It was a really, really exciting time because everything's finally starting to fall in place.
Yeah, man, it sounds like you're finally getting your shit together and running real business.
That's right. Yeah, it did. It felt like I was running a real business, and I mean, I got to really say that my dad was a massive part of that. I didn't have any structure in place, so having my dad come in and make sure that I hired people correctly and made sure that I had some bit more structure, and I stopped buying silly things, and also having Caitlin organise all the finances. So full credit to people that actually got involved in the journey at that stage, and also Nigel, having the correct support around me. which is just such a contrast to where I was a few years ago, where I was like, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm going to do it all myself, and it's going to happen overnight. We're just running a real business at that stage, so it was really nice.
And your old boss as well, who put you up rent free again.
Oh yeah, you're right, and massive. Yeah, my old boss, Bruce, awesome. So he really looked after me, and he, obviously getting me in that house for no rent, and that gave me access to Tom to hang out with him all the time, and so it was really cool to sort of that mid 2013 having everything sort of fall into place.
Fantastic. So you're travelling up to Auckland for a lot of these plumbing jobs. Were they when you were you meeting customers up there, or like plumbers, or were you meeting the NZ plumbing merchants first?
A bit of both. So I was meeting the New Zealand plumbing merchants to talk about the technology and everything that was happening, but we also I was meeting plumbers as well and starting to get some of these jobs underway, and then we were sort of discussing as well, what is the process and what are the fees, what are we charging. Yep. So it was all starting to fall into place.
Awesome, man. Well, that's probably a good note to end on. I think we've left the last few on a negative buzz. So this one, I think, being episode 3, is good to end on a positive note, I reckon.
That's right. Yeah. It is. As you can see, I got a smile on my face now. It's recollecting these memories are a lot nicer than it was the previous few. So
totally, yeah. Well, we started the episode with you in a ball
on the ground,
and we're ending with you actually running what's starting to be the semblance of a real business with a real team and a real structure, and with real customers that are actually paying you money.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, off the meds. I'm running every day. Yeah. We've got cash in the bank, and everything's looking good.
Fantastic. All right. Well, tune in next week to see how it all falls apart again, or if it falls apart again.
Ooh.
I don't want no spoilers happening here. Tune in next month, for the next episode where we find out what happens from here.
That's the one. Awesome. Looking forward to it.